Have you ever felt disrespected and didn't know how to react? Michel de Montaigne, one of the greatest philosophers of the Renaissance, knew exactly how to deal with this, with elegance, firmness, and intelligence. In this video, you will discover how to apply Montaigne's wisdom to never be disrespected again, without shouting, without fighting, just using the power of your mind. Number 1. Respect yourself first. Michel de Montaigne teaches us that the first step to not being disrespected by others is to stop disrespecting yourself. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to do. When you accept less than you deserve, tolerate offenses in silence, or blame yourself for everything that goes wrong, you send a clear message to the world. I don't value myself, and the world responds accordingly. Montaigne said that no one is more miserable than those who despise themselves, because disrespect begins within us. If you want people to take you seriously, you need to be the first to do so. It's not about arrogance, but about setting a minimum standard of dignity. This includes saying no when necessary, leaving toxic environments, and stopping seeking constant validation from others. Those who respect themselves take care of their mental health, don't beg for attention, and don't accept unbalanced relationships. And here's the curious thing. When you value yourself, you change your body language, your tone of voice, your presence, and people feel it. They think twice before treating you with contempt. Respect begins in silence, in the way you look at yourself in the mirror, in the way you deal with your mistakes, in the patience you have with yourself. It is impossible to control the behavior of others, but it is entirely possible to define how you allow yourself to be treated. And, deep down, that is what Montaigne meant. Respect is not demanded by shouting. It is a reflection of what you accept or do not accept in your own life. So if you want to be respected, start treating yourself as someone worthy of respect today. Number 2, don't react, observe. Michel de Montaigne believed that true mastery lies in observing, not reacting. When someone disrespects us, our immediate reaction is usually emotional: anger, impulse, shouting, defense. But Montaigne saw this impulsiveness as a sign of inner weakness. He valued self-control as a form of wisdom. Reacting automatically is handing over your power to the other person. It is saying, "You control my mood, my words, my balance." Now think, how many times have you regretted responding in the heat of the moment? How many situations have worsened because you spoke too much when you should have remained silent? Silence, for Montaigne, was not passivity. It was strategy. Observing before reacting is taking a step back to gain clarity. It is seeing the other person's intentions, the context of the situation, and above all, understanding whether it really deserves your energy. Often, the person who provokes you is just projecting their own frustrations, and when you react, you confirm their game. But when you observe, calmly and with poise, you reverse the dynamic. You become the master of your behavior. And that in itself commands respect. Montaigne reminds us that a calm mind is more powerful than a clenched fist. Instead of exploding, breathe. Instead of responding right away, think. Every second of observation is an act of inner power. The wise do not remain silent out of weakness, but because they know that true strength lies in what they choose to ignore. Therefore, when faced with disrespect, do not react. Observe. It is in this interval between stimulus and response that true respect is born, that of others and, above all, your own. Number 3, be wary of wounded pride. Michel de Montaigne, always attentive to human nature, warns us of a silent and treacherous enemy: wounded pride. We often think we are being disrespected, when in fact it is only our ego that is inflamed. A slight criticism, a disagreement, or even silence can be interpreted as an offense. not because they really are, but because we are too sensitive to how we are perceived. Montaigne said that vanity is the food of offense, and this invites us to reflect. Is the problem with the other person or with how we interpret their actions? When the ego is large, everything becomes an attack. When self-esteem is fragile, any glance seems like judgment. And in this state of constant alertness, you live on the defensive, ready to fight ghosts that only exist inside you. The consequence of this: unnecessary conflicts, emotional exhaustion, and relationships destroyed by misunderstandings. Being wary of wounded pride is an act of maturity. It means recognizing that not everything revolves around you. Sometimes, people are just busy, distracted, or being sincere, not trying to humiliate you. Montaigne suggests that before reacting, we question the source of our pain. Was that really disrespectful, or was it my ego that didn't like being contradicted? This kind of reflection creates an emotional shield. You stop being upset by little things and start to differentiate between what is truly offensive and what is just a matter of vanity. And when the ego is silenced, true respect is born for yourself and for others. Montaigne does not invite us to be insensitive, but rather lucid, because only those who master their own pride can react wisely to real disrespect and elegantly ignore what does not deserve a response. Number 4. Choose your battles. One of Michel de Montaigne's greatest lessons is the importance of choosing wisely where we invest our energy. In a world where everything seems personal, it is easy to fall into the trap of wanting to respond to every criticism, correct every injustice, or defend ourselves against every malicious comment. But Montaigne saw this as a waste of life. For him, dignity lies in knowing what to ignore. Fighting for everything is a sign of insecurity. Those who feel constantly attacked reveal a restless spirit and a fragile ego. Montaigne invites us to ask a simple question in the face of every provocation. Does it really matter? Some people speak to provoke, others act out of ignorance, and many don't even realize they've been rude. If you react to everything, your life will be a battlefield. And worse, a war without glory. Wisdom lies in saving your peace. Pointless battles only fuel chaos and take the focus away from what really matters. You don't have to prove anything to those who don't want to understand, nor justify yourself to those who have already judged you. Learning to remain silent is not cowardice, it is strategy. Montaigne believed that a person's greatness lies in their ability to remain calm while others lose themselves in noise. When you choose not to respond, you show that you are on a higher level, not out of arrogance, but out of maturity. Respect is born when you show that you are in control, not only of the situation, but mainly of yourself. So before getting into another pointless argument, remember, not every insult deserves a response, and not every attack deserves your attention. Choosing your battles is a way of preserving yourself and, at the same time, elevating yourself. Number 5, don't beg for respect, inspire it. For Michel de Montaigne, true respect is never imposed, let alone begged for. It is naturally inspired by the way we conduct our lives, our words, and our choices. When someone needs to shout, "Respect me," it is usually because they have lost control of their own image. Montaigne would say that respect does not come from demands, but from consistency. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth, you just need to act with such firmness and integrity that others feel it without you saying a word. Begging for respect puts you in a position of inferiority, as if you were begging to be seen, to be validated. But those who respect themselves don't need that. They naturally inspire a posture of reverence in others. It starts with small gestures. The way you stand, how you talk about yourself, how you say no without guilt, how you set boundaries without losing your cool. People like this exude quiet authority. They don't need to prove anything because their behavior proves everything. Montaigne saw life as a mirror. How you see yourself determines how you will be seen. That's why cultivating self-respect isn't vanity, it's a necessity. And it's not about making yourself superior, but about never diminishing yourself to please anyone else. People respect those who live with clarity, who know what they want, who don't lower themselves to be accepted. If you feel like you have to fight all the time to be taken seriously, maybe the answer lies in how you present yourself to the world. Instead of seeking respect from others, cultivate it within yourself. Because, as Montaigne teaches us, the most powerful respect is the one you inspire without having to ask for it. Number 6. How you react defines how you will be treated. Michel de Montaigne understood that most of the time, people test boundaries, and how you react to these tests sets the tone for the relationship from then on. If someone interrupts you, belittles you, or treats you with irony, and you accept it silently, smiling or looking away, you are, without realizing it, teaching the other person to disrespect you again. Life does not follow written rules, it follows behavioral patterns. Montaigne warned us that dignity is not only in words, but in gestures, posture, and reactions. The first time you tolerate disrespect, perhaps out of fear of conflict or insecurity, you create an expectation of tolerance, and the second time will come with more force. Therefore, a subtle but firm response is essential. It is not about exploding or being aggressive, but about presence. A pause in your gaze, a word spoken calmly, a limit clearly drawn. When you show that you notice disrespect and do not accept it, even if with elegance, you change the dynamic of the relationship. Montaigne said that constancy of soul is the true shield, and this constancy is revealed precisely in our reactions. Reacting with balance, but without passivity, is showing the world that there is a limit that will not be crossed. People who respect each other are perceived in the first few minutes of interaction, not by their shouting, but by their gestures. So, the next time you are tested, remember, your reaction is teaching the other person how they can or cannot treat you. And if you want to be treated with respect, your attitude needs to make that clear from the outset. Number 7. Those who know themselves do not bow down. For Michel de Montaigne, knowing oneself was one of the noblest virtues a human being can achieve. And this self-understanding is the solid foundation on which true respect is built. Those who truly know themselves know their worth, and therefore do not need to beg for approval or bow down to please others. When you are clear about who you are, what you believe in, what you tolerate, and what you deserve, it becomes virtually impossible to accept emotional crumbs or humiliations disguised as jokes. Montaigne believed that most people suffer not from direct attacks, but because they are unsure of their own worth. And this inner doubt makes them vulnerable. They give in when they should stand up for themselves, remain silent when they should speak up, and laugh when they are hurting inside. But self-knowledge frees you from this cycle. It gives you firmness in your words, lightness in your posture, and conviction in your choices. Those who know themselves do not feel the need to fit into hostile environments. On the contrary, they withdraw with dignity. They do not accept being used, manipulated, or disrespected to keep the peace, because they understand that true peace begins within. Montaigne teaches us that a peaceful soul does not need to explain itself, and that respect begins in the mirror. When you know yourself, other people's opinions do not define your self-esteem. Provocations lose their power, and attempts to belittle you become useless, because you already know who you are, and those who don't need to prove anything never stoop low. So if you want to be respected, look inside yourself first. Become intimate with yourself. Because, as Montaigne believed, self-knowledge is the soil in which dignity flourishes. Respect is not something that is demanded with shouting, nor is it achieved with artifice. It is a natural reflection of what you emanate. Michel de Montaigne, with his timeless wisdom, shows us that respect begins within, in the way we treat ourselves, how we position ourselves, and above all, in the way we react to the world. If you respect yourself, you set boundaries without being aggressive. You inspire reverence without intimidating others. True respect does not come from fear, but from the silent admiration one feels when seeing another human being act with integrity, firmness, and serenity. Montaigne understood that contrary to what many people think, it is not status, physical strength, or eloquence that makes someone respectable. It is the constancy of the soul. It is the alignment between what one feels, what one thinks, and what one does. So if you never want to be disrespected again, don't look for external solutions. Strengthen your inner self. Respect yourself first. Inspire respect. Don't beg for it. Choose your battles wisely. Remember that your reaction defines how you will be treated. And above all, know yourself, because those who know their worth never lower themselves. Montaigne's final lesson is simple but powerful. The world treats us, in large part, the way we teach it to treat us. And that teaching begins in silence, in small gestures, in firm postures, and in the dignity we carry. With every step, be that example. And respect will come, not as a favor, but as an inevitable consequence. Only for the determined people who stayed until the end of this video, comment below, "I stayed until the end." That way I'll know who really wants to take control of their life once and for all. Take care and see you in the next video.